Hey guys, Chris here, and I'm a Ukrainian Canadian. Today is June 25th, 2023, and let's get to the news happening in Russia again, shall we? So, it was good while it lasted. Honestly, I didn't think it would end so quickly, but it did. And apparently, Lukashenko, out of all the people, mediated a deal between Putin and Prigozhin to force Prigozhin to step back and stop his convoy that was heading to Moscow and trying most likely to depose Putin. So, out of all the people, as I said, I did not expect it to be Lukashenko who would be the mediator and the master negotiator. So, you're trying to tell me that Lukashenko is a stronger and better negotiator than Putin? That's very interesting. And so, there's a lot of details that, of course, we will not know and probably will never know about what was discussed between both of the parties. But I was shocked to hear those news yesterday and how quickly things turned around, as it seemed like the Kremlin was about to turn into dust and fire. So, however, the positive thing from yesterday is that Putin, I've never seen him so weak, so vulnerable, so humiliated, and also how cowardly he was yesterday, right? And according to, well, this Washington Post kind of sums it up in a very nice way. The speed with which Putin backed down suggests that his sense of vulnerability is higher and even higher than some analysts believed it to be. Putin might have saved his regime yesterday, but this day will be remembered as part of the unraveling of Russia as a great power. That is gone, which will be Putin's true legacy. Putin's deal with renegade militia leader Yevgeny Prigozhin is likely to be a momentary truce, and I agree with that. The bombastic rebel will head for Belarus in a deal brokered by his pal, Alexander Lukashenko, in exchange for Putin dropping charges against him and his mutinous soldiers. And I think that was very interesting as well, right? I mean, it's a statement that you can't just back down from. He literally called Prigozhin a traitor to the state and that he will be dealt with. And now you just quietly step down from that narrative. You can't just do that. And so, yet again, that makes Putin look weak. And he fled at the very first opportunity as well, which makes him, again, cowardly. Well, that we knew. He probably fled to a more defensible, better protected bunker in St. Petersburg. But this whole series of events is just going to be playing into Ukraine's benefit because, uh, again, the Kremlin is standing on very shaky ground, and that has just completely changed the situation within the hallways of the Kremlin for the worst for Putin. And another thing is that the United States allegedly was already aware of this happening 2 days prior of this rebellion. And it's interesting that they did not mention that to Putin, right? And they just want to see how things would play out. Now, this is probably one of the worst aviation days for Russia's Air Force yesterday. So, according to pro-Russian sources, they lost about 7 aircraft in total yesterday. So that includes 3 Mi-8 MPTRs, 1 Mi-8 air helicopter, 1Ka-52 helicopter, 1 Mi-35 helicopter, and 1 Ilyushin either 18 or Ilyushin 22 airplane, which is a huge loss. And allegedly, there was about 8 to 10 people on board that were killed. And so, of course, you can bet that the Russian Air Force is pissed off at Prigozhin. And it's going to be interesting how they work things out following this yesterday's coup, right? Because you can bet that there's going to be some sort of revenge planning from the Russian Air Force because they killed, I think it was 12 or 15 pilots or something like that. I might be wrong here, but 7 aircraft. So it's about the very least 10 pilots, Russian air pilots, that were killed yesterday. And Prigozhin agreed as well to compensate the families of the dead pilots, allegedly, according to sources. And it's also interesting that I think that what could stop Putin from acting too quickly, try to assassinate or kill Prigozhin, is the fact that Prigozhin is no dummy, and he still controls the Milorovo Air Base and some important assets, so some important HQs within Russia. It's kind of a safety net to make sure that he's untouchable. And, because I think he's obviously aware that Putin wants his head now. he wants to get rid of Prigozhin as quickly as possible. And of course, it's interesting to know, or it's going to be interesting to see, because I have no doubt that in this negotiation, most likely Prigozhin wanted Shoigu and Gerasimov out, right? And so who's going to be replacing Shoigu, Gerasimov, and all the other commanders that we don't know of, that we're working alongside with Shoigu and Gerasimov? That's also going to be an interesting to see in nearby future as to how that develops. And lastly, my thoughts about yesterday's events. So I just want to mention one thing. I'm going to get into the map situation next week. I'm going to take a day or two off following this craziness that happened this weekend. And then I'm going to discuss what's currently going on the Ukrainian front line. But just as a final closing thoughts about the situation, this small little coup that happened yesterday. So yesterday can officially be marked as the day that the strong Russia myth, it has completely collapsed, right? It's a myth that Putin has been working over 23 years to build. Look at my large army, my convoys during, Victory Day parades. Look at how great my industries are. My speeches about Russia being a great nation completely collapsed. The entire world is laughing at Russia today. All the newspapers have, the coup as the frontline news. And just, it's humiliating for Putin. Everyone understands how quickly Russia can collapse and break down into total chaos. And with barely, a 25,000 convict army, that's nothing, right? In the grand scale, in a scale of Russia, which is a massive country, it only took 25,000 soldiers to just march to the Kremlin? That's pathetic. And also, the Putin system is weak. It's incapable of following orders and reacting in real time, right? Putin was asking everyone, left and right, to work together with him to stop Prigozhin, and yet they couldn't. They were just marching through with barely any resistance to the Kremlin. And the Russian elite, yet again, took the first opportunity to leave Russia at the first sign of Kremlin's subsidence, which is already sitting on very shaky grounds. The foundations are crumbling slowly but surely now. They got scared of Wagner, of Prigozhin, and they were that they were so quick to buy tickets to Yerevan, to Tbilisi, to Dubai, right? We saw those jets flying out of Moscow, out of St. Petersburg, right? They were fleeing left and right. So where was Putin, right? That was promising them safety, promising them that this war would be over. What was Kadyrov, who promised Putin that that he would deal with Prigozhin, right? They were stuck in traffic jams in Rostov, right? Too busy, honking in their cars. And there's absolutely no loyalty nor unity in the Kremlin anymore, right? The very little unity that existed is no more, right? Everybody in the hallways of the Kremlin are suspicious, and they're looking at each other, not trusting one another anymore. This is a perfect situation for Ukraine in terms of the situation within the Kremlin. And the last point I want to bring up is that Ukraine, following what we saw yesterday, needs to continue investing more and more in destabilizing Russia. I think that could be the key in ending this war quicker. Again, more border raids, whether it be, as they've said in 2 videos ago about, Ukraine invading Russia, potentially, if Russia goes ahead with a drastic, nuclear attack or something like that, there is nothing that would stop Ukraine from invading Russia. They should not be scared anymore, right? And you saw Prigozhin with 25,000 men was able to just literally steamroll through hundreds of kilometers towards Moscow. Imagine what an army of 50,000 Ukrainian soldiers could do within Russia, and continue attacking military infrastructure within Russia. I think by continuing destabilizing the Putin regime, continue attacking the vital lifelines of his army, that this war can be ended much quicker than we expect. Honestly, I was expecting it to be over, yesterday, but that didn't happen. But you can see how war and how situations, political situations, can just take a drastic turn of events like that. So that's the video for today, guys. Let me know what you think. Again, I'll keep you guys updated as to the map situation, but only next week. I'm gonna take a day or two off following all this craziness. But again, thank you so much for your support, not only for my channel, but to the Ukrainian cause. I'm very, very grateful for you guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you and take care.